So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders the backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this morning, I'm delighted to have with us Dr. Gillian Rogers, who's founder at Autism Arena CIC. So, firstly, Gillian, thank you so much for spending a bit of time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, Autism Arena, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name's Gillian Rogers, and founder of Autism Arena. We launched in August last year, just in time for the school year. We just set up in January, and I'm a GP by background, but I'd had a stroke, so I was working. So I wasn't working, and over lockdown realised, I was at home with my child, and realised that he needed an assessment for autism, and he needed a support package around him. So in getting that in place, I realised that I was using my skills from being a GP, and not everybody's got those skills. So that just made me think I need to share this with other people, because what I've achieved for my son, I knew was that other people weren't getting for their children. So that's where we've come from, is just like thinking I just need to share my skills at the beginning.
Brilliant.
And so after trying different routes about how to share the skills, I realised that if I set up a non-profit community interest company, I would be able to access grant funding.
Yes.
And I needed to have two other people, a minimum of two other people. So I needed two other people that I was not related to, and I didn't live in the same house as, and that would be enough criteria to apply for, say, like the National Lottery. So I contacted a couple of friends who had autistic children, and one of them is a children's social worker, and the other is a special educational needs coordinator in a school, and chatting to them, learning the journeys that they had been on, and they felt the same, that they were using their professional skills and their contacts again to very different cases around their children's needs, but we'd all done the same thing, and we'd all noticed big gaps in services. Although there was lots of services, sometimes there wasn't connections between them all, and it was quite difficult, particularly back in lockdown days, because we're talking about like 5 years ago now. It was really hard, and so this is why when we started sort of thinking about creating this, so we got together, formed the company, and then applied for national lottery funding, and we got it. So that's where we began.
Wow. Yeah. What a great story. That's amazing. So what sort of people or organisations do you help best? What sort of people, if any was watching right now, who is it primarily the parents or organisations like schools? I think we were talking about before we started. Who do you serve best, and who would you like to speak to more of, or who more of would you like to speak to?
There's a couple of answers to that. What we want to do is to help children reach their potential. Right. So if we can help their parents and carers understand their child's needs, then they can be stronger advocates for their child.
Right.
And if they understand their child's needs and understand where the challenges are coming from, they can help educate their own child, so that child can develop their own self-advocacy skills as well.
Right.
So that everybody in the family unit is stronger in what they're able to do. So definitely, when we get grant funding, this is part of the learning curve, I guess, having a business, is when we launched, like, Leeds City Council said we could access all the parents and carers as long as it was for free, which we did, which was fine. But by Christmas time, I realised there was no cash flow because everything was for free. So when we started to diversify, thinking, okay, we need an income to come in to sort of be more stable, because we've applied for lots of grants and we've been really lucky. So we've also got money from Co-op. We're part of the Co-op Local Cause. We are like the Arnold Clark and the Two Ridings Community Foundation and the the Yorkshire, oh God, the Heart of Yorkshire Selby Fund as well, sponsoring us at the minute to do some projects over in Selby. But so we have got these grant fundings, but actually to be sustainable, we need actual income coming in. So in the new year, we started to sort of look at businesses, because actually Leeds City Council, when I went back to say, like, we don't have cash flow, they said, well, you can now sell to the school clusters. And in going to them, there was no money to buy more services.
Right.
I think it's that sort of learning curve over the first sort of 6 months of launching that health and education, there's no spare money. So to be able to do this, we decided to sell neurodivergence awareness to businesses, thinking that would be an income stream. So that's been really great. So we've had some companies where we've gone in and so help them understand neurodivergence, so they can taper their service better to accommodate the needs of their clients. And so we've been doing that with, say, like counselling services and services that have that work with young people as well, so that they can have great understanding, and sort of early help groups, looking at, so we've got some interest from schools as well, looking at how we can help with their professional development as well. So it's just sort of looking at how we can help businesses understand neurodivergence,
right,
so that they can do that better.
It makes perfect sense. I guess I mean, over the last sort of 10, 20 years, you start to realise that so many people are, and we're all different, aren't we? And so different, how we treat people has got to be relevant to the individual. So it's really key to be able to understand that better. So businesses, working with businesses will be great. So any businesses or business leaders that might be watching today.
Well, absolutely, yes. So it's sort of understanding, even from a health and from a wellbeing, inclusion, all these sort of angles, really, that diversity is, because I've just done a project on, let's say, the perimenopause and neurodivergence, and that's quite incredible, like how the brain changes to do with the neurotransmitters are to do with hormone related in different parts of the brain. So actually people can, what women from 40s to 60 can actually start functioning differently and have a lot of challenges. And so it's understanding that as well. I have spoken with an HR director about going into a particular company and potentially running a pilot to help support the team there. So it's just sort of looking at exploring. I think I'm just like quite open to explore and just sort of see where we sit, really. It's all new and I like that. I like the sort of variability. How everything, all change. And I think with the neurodivergence as well, that sort of evolved, because it did start initially around autism, and then realising actually this is a much bigger picture, because there's so much overlap between all the different neurodivergent differences, that actually this is about neurodivergence, not just about autism. And then so yes, it's just taking it where I can help make a difference. I think that's really
Brilliant. Well, it'd be great, as we said before we started, it'd be great to introduce you to a few people that might be great people to know more of. So it'd be good, and it'd be good, obviously, as part of our conversation today, is so when you go into a business, is there a best size or type of business that you would speak with that would be best for them and for you? Is it a size thing? Is it large corporates, or does it not really matter?
From my perspective, it doesn't matter. What I think realistically, small businesses is probably not high on priority of a smaller business. Some of the bigger companies, I've been chatting to HR teams in the bigger companies and learning what they've found has worked well from them. And yeah, where there are gaps, where they see the gaps. So, but these conversations are at the very early stage,
Yep.
and that's quite exciting actually to be having these conversations. But it's yeah, I think I suppose sometimes when the bigger companies do things well, then maybe it's other companies then start to go, oh yeah, we've got the workforce, we've got the numbers that actually 1 in 5 people are neurodivergent.
Yes.
So I suppose you have to have a number that you might go, actually, yeah, we are maybe not as inclusive as what we could be, and maybe there's people challenging, or we're having some staff turnover issues, or just going, actually, maybe there's a reason why this is
Yeah.
the way it is.
I really get that. I mean, this whole topic is fascinating, and the more you can do to help people develop their careers is the best. Well, looking back, obviously it's been relatively new, but in your business. But what are some of the biggest challenges you've highlighted? One or two there about funding and cash flow, but what are some of the other challenges you've had to overcome?
I think probably in a practical term, with myself being, I guess the challenges I've got, having had a stroke, that I don't work. I didn't continue to work as a GP because I felt like I'd lost skills that I was using to be a GP, so I didn't return to that. But I've taken on, it's been a huge learning curve on new skills, because I'm just in this new environment. I'm from healthcare. I'm from the mindset of helping people for free, and and from the NHS, for you the point of contact, and you do what you can, and you keep giving until you can't give no more. So it's that thing of actually having those boundaries in place, and recognizing my own value, and and sales and marketing, huge. I had no concept of how important sales and marketing was. Massive. It's just massive. And I think maybe that's an area I really need to be focusing on as well. It's going, actually, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's fundamental in any business, because we can be as good as we can be, but if people don't know about us, then ultimately they don't have an option to come and talk to us if we don't know we're there. So it's really, really important that we build those skills or those capabilities in some way. It doesn't have to be our skill necessarily, but I would suggest the founders of businesses have to be the original source of the sales and marketing activity, because it's your baby. It's what you're living and breathing. So until we can find other people to delegate that to, it's one of the most important things founders, I believe, need to master and be really clear, because the culture of and the identity of the organization is typically a mirror of its founders.
Yes, I could see that. Yes,
So,
I've had as a non-profit community interest company in Leeds, I've had a lot of support, which has been really good. So I like Participate project and Doing Good Leeds, like voluntary action Leeds. A lot of organisations have been really supportive. There's things supported by West Yorkshire Combined Authority, the She Can Shine programme, Adventure. It's been amazing, and I've had teams of some training on sales and marketing and all these different things. But I think sometimes it's like you sort of really take on a little bit, and when you've not had any exposure to it, it's just like it builds with time, isn't it? You start to go, actually, that's what I need to be doing. Like when we set up our website last year, I mean, I spent weeks designing this website. It had to be accessible, and then there was lots of features I wanted it to have. And it's great from one perspective, is like, it's an accessible, informative website. However, it doesn't drive sales. There's this whole, I've got the platform that there's no sales concept there at all. There's no marketing, no sales strategy. So I think that needs to be looked at a little bit. So Twilo Creative, an organisation, have offered to be very supportive of us going forward. So that's nice.
We've got some really good marketing and sales courses as well at some point, if that's helpful to you. So
yes.
we'd really like to help you as much as we can. Because it is, I mean, what's the right saying? It is. We have the skills already. It's just related those skills to the world of marketing and sales. You know,
Oh. Sure, that's easier said than done.
I mean, I put it this way: if anyone's got kids, knows
Yeah,
how to sell, because kids, in fact, the best salespeople in the world are kids themselves, because they
yeah.
won't take no for an answer. That they'll always find a reason that you should do this thing. So we can learn from our children, but if we look at ourselves as adults, we'll have done that in many different areas too. So it's just relating natural human behaviour to a business sales environment, in my opinion.
Okay.
So
Well, that's a new way to think of it. Yeah.
yeah, and I've literally talked to an old client of mine who I'm going to do a bit more work with, but he said he remembered an event we ran, and this is many years ago. It's quite funny. There's a place called the Sidings, which is just outside of York, and it's an old railway carriage, and I still can't remember why we managed to do it in there. I think the owner must have persuaded us because it was literally wide enough for about three people, and then we're in this long corridor basically. So then, but our definition of selling, which I think helps lots and lots of people who have a fear and concern about it. So selling should be. Oh, I'm getting a little. Sorry, I had a little.
Oh no, I'm still there. Yeah, yeah.
Um, is professionally helping people buy what they need. That's it. Okay.
Okay.
So first we have to establish they have a need, and if they have a need, then they shouldn't be buying anything. But
Yeah.
if they have
Yeah.
a need and we can provide that service with the best people to provide that service, then it's sensible. We show them how buying from us is the best decision they make.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense? That's it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think people have a perception that selling is somehow making somebody do something they don't want to do,
Yeah.
and that's very rare, and it's very it goes back in history in times of depression and stuff when people had to sell things to survive themselves and feed their families. But it doesn't happen anymore much. There's
Yeah.
a couple of industries where perhaps there's still residuals of people trying to make you do stuff. But I say to anybody, you tell me the last time somebody made you buy anything, properly
Yeah.
made you.
True. Yeah.
Unless
Yeah.
they held a
Yeah.
gun to your head, they didn't make you buy
Yeah.
anything.
I never thought about it like that.
No, we tend to want to blame the salesperson for making bad decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we tend to, oh, blooming sales, well, they're really good, so they made me buy something I didn't want. No, we really did want it at that point.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
in hindsight,
Yeah.
we realised we didn't.
I think what you want is a good service.
Yeah,
You know,
that's it.
with something, isn't it? It's yeah. Because what I'm finding is I think there's a physical limit to what I can do in person. I think that limits what I can deliver, and I want to try and create online courses that people can
Yes, great.
download whenever suits them. Part of what we were doing when we launched, because we were doing like webinars, evening educational webinars. But the numbers attending, although we had professionals coming in, giving the professional support, occupational therapists, speech and language therapists, etc., there was the numbers weren't high, and I just think it's because it was on a set evening at a set time, and you were there, or you weren't there. Whereas I think if you can create like a podcast or a webinar or something that you can then you can upload, create an online shop, and people can do it whenever suits them. Like I've just created this. I've just been doing this workshop recently on ADHD, which has got a lot of attention, and it's that thing of going, actually, yeah, there's a lot more. Adults in the workplace have got ADHD because a lot of the skills that come with ADHD would suit a lot of jobs, whereas unfortunately, autistic adults, there's a lot of people who are not in employment, and then I think it's sort of real difficulty as well. So anyway, so I just think, how do I get those people in the population to go onto my website and go buy a course? That's what I need to. That's what I need. Like, how do I get that?
That's good marketing. Yeah, no, that's straightforward. But yeah, it is a structure. There is a structured approach to it. So I would be delighted to give you some help with that. I mean, it starts with things like being clear on what your target market target markets look like. And I say markets, not market. I.e., what I mean is most people go for anybody that. But if we go for anybody that, we tend to get nobody. There's a great phrase: if you go for everybody, you get nobody because the message is too weak.
Yes.
So, you can still get that many people, but the best way to do it is divide it into lots of very specific target markets. So it might be, businesses that do this, or it might be schools that, or it might be individuals that, but it's been really clear, and it might be demographic, geographic. There's so many different ways of looking at markets, but once you get more specific, you can then see a good marketing message identifies a problem that somebody has with
Yeah.
indication that we can solve it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for each
Yes, it does.
smaller
Yeah.
target market, we need to say we could serve you best if you're a school that is struggling to educate neurodivergent children,
Yes.
and maybe even more specific. Do you see neurodivergent children as not, as something? If you're seeing them as that, we can help you see them as something else. I don't.
Ah,
Forgive
okay.
me if I'm getting this wrong. I don't. But
Yeah. No, this ties it. Yeah.
and the problem they might have is a lack of knowledge. So if you don't know enough about neurodiversity to lead your school, run your business, you need to come and speak to us. So those are
Yeah.
the messages, but be specific. So if you say, see, the way I like to describe it is, if I ran a marketing piece, if I put it online, let's say newspapers. Nobody reads newspapers, but imagine you open a newspaper and it said, and you saw an advert that said, "Dr. Gillian Rogers, you've got to read this.
Yeah.
You've got to read it." Like it's impossible for you not to read it, even if it was for something you have no interest in. So the marketing piece got your attention
Yeah.
because it was you, it's your name. So
Yeah.
we can't. I mean, it wouldn't be sensible to use names as headlines for marketing pieces, but it would be describe you in detail.
Oh, that's clever. Now that makes sense why people say like absolutely know the person, where do they shop, what car do they drive? And I kind of like I don't really I kind of get that, but like why is that relevant?
They call them personas. Yeah, they get called personas now. So describe different personas. But if you describe them, then the first question is, where do you find them in highest concentration?
Okay, yeah.
So if for instance, if you wanted to speak to headmasters of schools, I would
Yeah.
be trying to get into the Association of Headmasters National Conference as an example, because that's
Oh,
what you find. Or even just stand out. If you stood outside the conference with a banner saying, "I help you learn more about neurodiversity in your education," you're going to get some people come up and talk to you, guaranteed.
yeah. This makes perfect sense.
Absolutely. But not if you did it outside any conference, because it's like there's own. So it's associating. It's identifying a target market. Where do you find them in highest concentration, and
Yeah.
what problems do they specifically have that we can solve for them? Because the problems of a headmaster might be different to the problems of a business owner.
Yes.
So there's no
Yes.
point. There's no point talking about um, learning about neurodiversity in children to a business owner because
Yeah.
haven't they? Does that make
Yeah.
sense? And it's,
Their concerns about children being educated. And
yes,
yeah.
so exactly. So it's what is it that we need to do? So if we d- create these different target markets, and often, as I say, I think marketers talk about personas. What because then within an organisation, who are you targeting? So it's the from what you've described, it would be the HR director rather than the finance director.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
I was targeting the finance director about what you do, I would be talking about the savings that could be made if your organisation is trained better in dealing with neurodivergency. Because the problem they have is the financial management of their company. So if they could save money,
Oh, maybe that's who I should be targeting then, because of the cost of recruitments and lost days of work with mental health and well-being, and
perfect.
yeah,
So
yeah,
so if you think about an organisation, you can target different members with different messages. So the HR would very much want to learn. I'm trying to think what the right phrase would be, but how the organisation is more effective, efficient, happier.
mm-hmm.
Finance guy would want to know how to make it more efficient and cost effective. So
Mm-hmm.
talking about lost days, which is what you just did, lost days is lost cash. So
Yes,
their interest is going to be much more than that. Now it could be exactly the same training, but it's for two or three different reasons.
yes.
Does that
Oh,
make sense?
fascinating.
It is fascinating topic. It's a really fascinating topic, and the other thing I would, while we're on the subject, is um, I like people to be really clear the difference, although they overlap, the difference between marketing and sales,
Yeah.
because marketing is and lead generation is getting somebody to say I'm interested. That's all it is. It's somebody to engage with us because they might be interested.
Okay.
Sales is taking someone with an interest to become a client. So it's a process. Marketing is more well, they're both processes, but I'm trying to think of the differences. But they may come together. You know, if you think about a website, if we want to get people to a website, that's marketing.
Uh-huh.
If the website sells the course, then that's sales. But sometimes we could be great at marketing and rubbish at sales, or great at sales and rubbish at marketing. And if we don't work on both of them, we can end up with a much lower result.
This
Um,
is fascinating because I know somebody called Devon Page who's got this company called the Brainstorm Club, and it's all about connecting marketing and sales.
I've just interviewed Devon
No
literally last week.
way!
Yeah,
Wow!
literally last week.
Ah,
So
fantastic!
his interview, I think, has just gone live. So if you want to keep an eye out on his LinkedIn page, you'll probably see that shortly.
Oh, superb! Yeah, so that makes
Absolutely.
sense. Right.
But yeah, absolutely. It's understanding these things and then, as you say, creating what we need to on our website, on our, um, you know, one of the most effective forms of marketing for a small business is what we say to people.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would imagine we're in environments where we will come into contact with people that might be one of our markets. It's been really clear how we can tell them what we do in a relatively short amount of words, and again focusing on how we help them rather than what we do.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
If we talk to them about what we do, we are relying on them to join the dots about how we can help them.
Yeah.
If we so if so you know, the example might be as a business coach. If I say, well, I coach people and I get them and we sit down and we have sessions where I ask them what they want to achieve and with the challenges, and that's coaching. But if I tell people that's what I do, that's. But if I say to people, typically they say, what do you do? I say, well, I help business owners make more money, work less hours, and have happier teams. Then most likely someone's go, well, you know,
Oh, I like
I wouldn't mind working a few less hours and I wouldn't mind a bit more money.
that. Yeah.
You know, you could help probably with happier teams. That's so we talk about outcomes for them, not what we do. That's how we deliver it, but what we do is just what we do. They're not really interested in what we do. We're interested in the outcomes that we deliver for them.
Okay. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So
This is helping my learning curve. Thank you.
great. No, you're very welcome. Very welcome. That's all marketing. That's I was literally just talking to a client this morning about a session we had last week was about storytelling
Oh yes.
and how you can create your brand through a story rather than trying to tell people what you do. There's a guy called Donald Miller who has written a book called The Business Brand Storybook. But what he talks about is tell what we do as a story where I'm trying to think I might have it here somewhere. I could probably tell you pretty quickly, but basically the idea within the story is there's a very simple structure to the story where we've got a hero with a problem.
Uh huh.
They meet a guide, which is us, so we're the guide, and together we solve the problem,
Okay.
and everybody lives happy ever after. So we can tell the story, and we don't have, you know, we don't have to be that creative. Just talk about people we've helped already.
Okay.
So I met this person. You could talk. You told a story about yourself right at the start, how
Mm-hmm.
you got into doing this. So that's a great story in itself. But maybe you think about one or two people you've helped. This was the person. This was the problem. This is what we did. This is how we solved their problem, and now they're much happier than they were beforehand.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I'm pulling these little things like this together because I'm doing my impact report for the national lottery at the minute. So I have been sort of pulling
Brilliant.
things like that. So yeah, it's
Oh, wonderful.
yeah.
It's
I mean,
gold. It's proper gold dusted, just in terms of learning the impact that we have. Exactly that, but also then other people want to know that impact. That's as I think I said slightly earlier. People don't really care what we do. Unfortunately, they don't care. It might be valuable. I mean, it's way more valuable what you do than many other things, but they don't care about what they do. They really care about how you can help them.
Okay.
So our conversation is better when we talk about the solutions we deliver than what we do and how we do it. Because they don't really care about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit like going. It's a bit like taking your car to be fixed at the garage. We don't really care what they do under the bonnet as long as it's fixed when it comes out again.
Yes. And they wash and back it.
There we go. Now you're into things like USPs and US points of difference.
Yeah.
You'll probably go somewhere where they'll wash your vac it if somebody else.
The customer service.
Absolutely. Isn't that interesting? So again, that gets it a little bit more into the how we do things, so we can attract people because the way we do it is different to other people. But that's even more. But that difference, that creating that difference is really important because that helps us stand out from other people that might be offering a similar service.
Right. Okay.
Our competition, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
It's important we differentiate ourselves so people can know why they're choosing us above somebody else if they see us as similar.
I think for us, we're sort of, our USP is going on the fact that we're from all professionals. So it is that when we do like a consultation with somebody, they will get a multidisciplinary team response. So like, they'll have a GP, a social work, and a teaching perspective in it. And I don't think that's. I think we're the only ones that do that, which is.
I think it's wonderful. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, and that
quite special. Yeah,
that would be absolutely bang on. Brilliant. So yeah, yes. Hopefully that's helpful. But there aren't any secrets to effective marketing or selling. There really aren't, and all of which they should be systems and processes. They don't need to be about how whatever the right word is. The challenge with sales is say, well, you've got to be somehow very engaging person. It helps. But if you're able to tell a good story, if you're able to engage with people, understand their needs, then selling is just helping them buy what they need.
That's really helpful. Thank you very much. It gives you a fresh way of looking at things rather than just going, it's an abyss. Where to begin? It actually, just like you say, structure it.
Just structure and I, if I was to advise you, just think about 2 or 3 key target markets and just work on them to start with. Don't worry about everybody. Ultimately, you may have a vision that you can help everybody, but everybody starts with somebody. So
yes,
so just it sounds like you through our conversation, businesses and schools is strong enough. If you made them local, it makes them more accessible to you right now because
yes.
At some point you might want to go national, and that's fine. But right now, you can go and walk into a school and say, "Could I speak to the headmaster or whatever?" If you chose to, I'm not suggesting you do, but if that makes sense, so you might want to say, "Right, I'm going to operate in this area of the country. I'm going to identify schools of this type or this size, and businesses of this type and size, and then we start to build a database of those people that we can then communicate with."
That sounds very good, actually. The project we've been delivering over in Selby has, there's an assistant head teacher was observing one of the sessions and has said that actually they could do with rolling this out as a rolling program for parents for the area. So that's really good. So there is that like validation, like yes, what we do is good. So yeah, I could take that concept and maybe see. So yeah, the schools over here would be interested in something like that, rather than going to the cluster. If you actually went to the school head and
I mean, I need to think about just finding. If I'm imagining it's quite easy to find the name of the headmaster of each school and just write me a letter. I mean, it's again going back to marketing. It's nobody gets letters anymore. So if you get a letter, it's actually quite special. So sending letters used to be, if you imagine, I don't know, 20 years ago, there was that sound of all this rubbish mail falling through your letterbox. It was like dump, and it's like, oh no, I'm gonna have to sort through loads of. That doesn't happen anymore. Getting a letter is actually quite an unusual thing. So
the kids get excited. Yeah.
it's way more effective now than it ever was for a very long time.
Oh gosh.
So,
Yeah, because I have spent days doing. I guess it's when I go onto schools and private schools and Leeds and over York way. I've just it'll be like the contact details that are on the website, and I've sent emails like we're offering this and this is free for parents, blah blah blah, and not a single reply. Just
right.
like, what? Why would you not share that with your parents? So I'm doing it wrong. It's a learning curve.
It's a learning curve. A couple of key things about learning curves, about marketing in general that help the learning curve. One is it is a numbers game. If you do it enough, you will get some responses. It's just individual mailing, whether it's emailing or direct mail, typically is sort of less than 1% effective.
Oh, is it?
So if
Okay.
you've not done 100 yet, then it's likely
Right.
you won't have got a response anyway.
Okay.
Because it is somebody, and again, now you can improve the message, which would potentially improve the take-up rate, but it is a numbers game. So and it's also a time. It's there is a time element to this as well. So if you imagine most of the time this isn't the top of somebody's agenda, let's imagine. I'm not saying it should or shouldn't be, but let's imagine they've got all the other things.
Yeah.
But today they've had a significant issue with a child. If your message lands on their day to day, I'm probably more likely to pick the phone up
Yeah.
than I was last week or possibly next week. So there is an element of consistency of communication too. So once is well, isn't very effective either. It's consistently we're here, we're here, we're here, we're here, we're here. Then they they have a problem, or within the week of having a problem, they're more likely then to get in touch.
Ah. Okay.
So consistency in the market is way more effective than trying to get more and more and more contacts to communicate with, I would suggest.
Yes.
Going back to your point, the description you said you've done a really good job in Selby, and the head wants to, the deputy wants to roll it out. Referrals is a great way of building business. So which other schools does that deputy know people in?
Yes. Okay.
Who do you
Yes.
know?
Their contacts. Yeah.
Who do you know that we can help just like this? So and spread out, go viral from the people that you're already working with,
Yeah.
because they're already a trusted source. We've done this; it's been really good for us. We think it would be great for you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Does
That's a good tip.
that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
It really does. Is a really simple way of doing so, and then probably maybe things like strategic partnerships with people that also work in a sort of a synergistic space with, for instance, with schools.
Yeah.
So it might be. I think I mentioned an organisation I work with who educate kids that have been excluded from mainstream schools. So their work with schools too for the school the children that are being excluded for whatever reason. Now, if they're operating, they will probably know quite a few of the heads of the number of schools in a particular region.
Yes.
They may or may
Okay.
not be willing to share that with you. I don't know, but it's they are.
Yeah.
We don't have to go directly to the school as an example. We could go to people that work with schools who could make a warm introduction.
Yeah. Okay.
Hopefully
This is
that
all
helps.
really sensible. All really sensible.
Just step by step. The key thing is step by step. We don't have to
Yeah.
complicate that. What's the phrase? How do you? I don't know if you heard the phrase. How do you eat an elephant?
Oh, one step, one mouth at a time.
One bite at a time. That's it. It's just one bite at a time. But if you try and eat an elephant in one go, it's not going to work. So just step by step, actually.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's been helpful.
Really helpful. Thank you so much. I feel like a lot of what you said has brought together things I've kind of as well heard maybe phrased differently from other people.
Yes.
It's just brought it all together right really sensibly. Like
Yeah.
yes.
No. It's there isn't any rocket. Sorry, there is no need to do anything around rocket science in business until you get. I always say to people, we don't do rocket science. We can help you get to a size where you can employ a rocket scientist if you really want to, but
Yeah.
there's just no need. It's simple stuff that works.
Yes. Yeah, because I had looked into marketing or sort of storytelling concepts, and some of it's really expensive to get people on board to do it. So if I can like learn from you to then do it, that's incredible.
Just do it yourself. I'll hold on. Let me just find it here. I just emailed it out today. So there's I'll send it over to you, Gillian. There's a little video of a guy called Don. I think I mentioned Donald Miller just talking about storytelling.
Okay,
But
yeah.
he's got a simple structure that he's written about. But it's not rocket science, and B, I'm just trying to find it here. No, not there. That's there. The structure goes. So yeah. So the summary, the story brand framework. So a character, number one, has a problem. Number two, meets a guide. Number three, that's us, who gives a plan that calls them to action, that helps them avoid failure and ends in success. That's the structure. That's the story. Now that relates to what you do, I'm sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
but the story of especially the challenge and the overcoming is what people get engaged with. Just information is something we get less engaged with if we just say this is what we do.
Uh huh.
So let me tell you a story about a parent that I met. They had a real challenge here. We did some work together. We gave them a plan of action, and now everybody's happy. That could be you.
Oh, that's so helpful. Thank you very much.
You're very
Yeah.
welcome. I'll send you some information actually, because there's a link to the Donald speaking. He's a lovely bloke. I've been lucky enough to meet him. He lives in just outside Nashville. And I was over there with a couple of friends on holiday, and we interviewed him out there. So,
Nashville.
Nashville. Yeah.
Did you get a hat?
I wanted to, but my friends weren't keen, and I didn't. So I didn't. I should have done. Honestly, we did go to the Grand Old Opry though, or it's not called that.
Oh wow.
It's called something.
Oh,
But it's an amazing place. It is a big party town. It's quite cool. It's quite a cool. We've got lots of rooftop bars and stuff, and you can just look down to the street and everybody. And there's live music in every bar. It's literally
oh gosh, what a place.
there's even live music at the airport. Bands in the airport. So they do live in music. But it was
Amazing.
really interesting guy because he was talking. I mean, it's a bit relevant now, but he was talking about how Donald Trump has become so successful at what he does in terms of because he was going back to the first election that when he was competing against a guy called Jeb Bush who was one of the Bush family, who was the other candidate for what they call Democrats and Republican candidate, and Jeb he describes the story of Jeb was so intelligent, is really passionate about being selected to run the country. He actually wrote a book on how his principles of building the country, running the country and things. But Donald said, "But who wants to read? How many Americans want to read a 500 page book?" What
Yeah.
what did the other guy say? He just said two things all the time, every time, which was build a wall and make America great again. That's all he's ever said.
Yeah.
Americans go, well, America, it could be better, and was just consistent in his message. So wherever he was, he always said those things as many times as he could. Doesn't mean, and that's how you get your message across.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
and I've got lots of views about the man and what he's doing or not doing, but the simplicity of messaging is quite interesting.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. Oh, that's fantastic.
So, Gillian, I could talk for hours with you, and it's been fascinating talking to you today. And what would be really good actually, and maybe I'm sure, hopefully, we'll meet again at some point in the future. But maybe to come back and talk again about what you're working on and some of the things you've developed over time. And if we can help you in any way, we'd love to. So
That sounds super. Thank you very much.
let's make that happen. But before we leave, for anyone that would like to get in touch with you or Autism Marina, what would be the best way of doing that?
You can email me on info@autismarena.org.uk, and there is a website which has got a contact form on it, and that's autismarena.org.uk.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Gillian, thank you so much for your time today. And so let's swing by and follow this up in a little bit of time and just see how things are going. But for now, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.